Hey everybody, welcome back to the You're Not Broken podcast. I've got my new friend, Dr. Mindy Pelz, on today because she has got a book that is going to go big coming out called Age Like a Girl: How Menopause Rewires Your Brain for Mental Clarity, Increased Confidence, and Renewed Energy. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to have this conversation with you.
I think we really need to talk about mindset in midlife because I've been describing it as a reckoning because I want to respect the people that when the hormones go down, your body is cracked in half and it is awful and lives end over it. And I want to respect that. But I don't because I never want to be like, it's this moment of opportunity. And meanwhile, it's really bad shit for a lot of people.
Well said.
But it's it truly is. So I call it a reckoning. That in midlife, you start, and I think a lot of it is you start realizing there's not a infinite amount of years left. Right. And that's part of it. What do you describe it as far as women cracking open and sometimes launching to version 2.0, which is way better than 1.0?
Oh my God, so much better. It's interesting. One of the pieces of an expert's opinion that I brought in the book that really hit me in the gut was Carol Gilligan's work. And Carol Gilligan was a feminist psychologist back in the 1980s. And she looked at teenagers, which was you and I in the 80s, and saw how the influence of a culture manipulated, let's just put it that way, manipulated our brain. And this is the way she wrote a book called In a Different Voice. And this is the way that I like to explain it, is that when she asked a boy and a girl at a certain period of 8, 9 years old, what they wanted, let's say she asked him, what do you want to eat? The boy will tell you exactly what he wants to eat. The girl will tell you exactly what she wants to eat. At 11, she asks that same question. The boy still tells you exactly what he wants to eat, and the girl hesitates for a moment. And by the time she hit 13, the boy will tell you exactly what he wants to eat. And the girl will turn to Carol Gilligan and say, I don't know, what are you going to eat? And so there is something that happens to us at puberty where our brains start to get hijacked by, and I'm just going to call it, I don't know another way to call it, but it's a patriarchal conditioning, a society that teaches us as young girls that you behave this way, you look this way, and you will be loved.
And don't be wrong.
Right.
And make sure you try to be perfect.
Yep.
And don't piss anybody off. Even if you didn't mean to piss them off, it's your fault if they got pissed off. You're now responsible for everybody's feelings around you, whether they're in the room or in Ohio watching your YouTube.
That's right. Yeah, it's I think you have an opinion about that.
No offense to all the lovely people in Ohio. I made that up for dramatic representation.
I feel like you're going to say the handle name of the.
Oh no, I made that up.
The follower in Ohio who lashed out at you. Do you have some things we need to talk about? Because I'm here for it if you need to. But here's the interesting thing, and what I really thought a lot about the beauty of menopause and the journey of menopause. And I'm not trying to make it sound Pollyanna-ish. But I think what happens to us is if our hormones come in and we become well-behaved members of our society, as our hormones change, I think we start to wake up. And we're like, yeah, we don't want to play this game anymore. This is exhausting. I don't want to do things for you so that you will turn around and tell me that I'm worthy or tell me that I'm loved. I just want to love myself, and I want to be congruent with myself. And I think that's the reckoning. That's the moment. And I think if we could liberate all women into that experience, it would be a very different culture that we are experiencing. And it's changing for the better.
Do you think our society can handle it?
Ooh. Oh, this is such a good question. Okay. Yeah. And I'm going to say, here's why. We are in a critical time in human history where misogyny is trying to take a hold. And I truly believe that the reason it's trying to take a hold is what is called an extinction bubble. Before something completely falls away from a culture, it rears its ugly head. And that's the only thing that can give me peace of mind here in America right now, is that the last little amounts of misogyny is trying to expand and take over all of our brains. And I think women are pissed. And I think it's the postmenopausal women that are going to lead us out of this moment. And this is why this book is so important. What you do is so important. Like, we need to get women to finally stand up and speak their truth and be who they really want to be and stop adapting to everybody, because the culture is trying to get women adapting again.
I love it. A friend sent me this today. I think it's timely for our conversation. Started a female patient on female dose testosterone. She works with men in a sports related industry. She's doing better at work. She doesn't cower anymore. She's behaving less in a way of accommodating their egos.
Excellent.
So here we are bringing back just the hormones that have declined over age, because I think this is a complex topic. It's not like we don't want women to have hormones. We're just not giving you the societal bullshit and maybe the really high hormones that played a part in people pleasing when you were 28, right? So she said this woman's now behaving in less of a way that's accommodating their egos, and she's actually doing better at work for it. And I replied, is this the real reason why they don't want women to have testosterone?
Yeah. It's not to anybody's advantage if women wake up. I mean, really,
except for the women and the children and
yes, but it's not to the you're right. It's not to the culture's, the way we're living right now. It's not to the culture's advantage. And you have studied, the human body for a long period of time. And I'm just going to flat out say that the way that the female body and brain is created makes us the superior sex, in my opinion.
Dude, we're Ferraris.
Yeah.
And I say this on stage. We are Ferraris working in a healthcare system that's a Honda garage.
I love that.
We love Hondas, excellent cup holders, great mileage, wonderful resale value.
Yeah.
Not Ferraris. Can't make life.
Yep.
Can't make life. Ferraris need Ferrari garages, not Honda garages. And I think that's what the women are, they're waking up to be like, we created life, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Where's the thank you? Where's the you're welcome? Where's the love and support for that? Because if that goes away, we're toast.
Yeah. And by the way, you're in this world because of a woman. That's the only reason why you were even born. The analogy I use all the time is that a woman's body is like a sophisticated violin and a man's body is like a kazoo.
Okay.
That's the way I don't know another way. Like, you have to tune, you have to take good care of violin. Kazoo, you just stick it in your mouth and it blows one note. So
yeah, and I think all bodies, going back to just all bodies, we can run them pretty ragged in our 20s and get away with it.
Yeah.
And now we get into our 50s, our 40s and 50s. They're like, but I always used to just go. And now I just can't anymore. But they want to keep doing the abuse that they were giving them. And the body now is like, hey, I'm going to start having chronic neck pain, you motherfucker.
Right.
Like,
okay,
you need to not beat on me incessantly. Like, I think there's this kindness of like, people are pissed that their body just can't handle what it could handle in the 20s. And I'm like, our bodies can handle a lot in our 20s.
For sure. And we were probably in our 20s the most manipulated by the culture at any other age. I mean, maybe in our teenage years. And it's some of the things that I see in my community and that I see with my patients was that we wake up in menopause. We wake up and we're like, wait a second. I don't want to do that for you. I don't want to keep pleasing you. I want to do things differently. And I think that's like, I'd be very curious your opinion on this. I've been thinking a lot about the menopausal rage. And I think it's part of it. Like, yes, we can say it's hormones, and yes, get on HRT. But can we talk about why you're raging? Can we talk about why you're irritable? Because perhaps you woke up and you decided, you know what? I'm tired of playing this game. This game as a woman in this culture has become exhausting. And we make a decision to do it different, which is the beautiful part of this journey.
I love that. I have a story of that. So I was on my book tour and I was doing an hour-long chit chat about testosterone because that's a hot topic. Yeah. And this woman's like, does testosterone make you angry? And I said, if too high doses of any hormone can throw people off. So check your dose, see what's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but testosterone makes you more of who you are.
Ooh,
and you see this in any gender. A man is more loving. He's a better father with his testosterone up. A woman's more kind. She's more functional at work. She's more angry, right? So I'm like, it's possible, if it's not too high of a dose, it's possible that you have legitimate reasons to be angry. And then she said, I hate my husband. We're in a horrific relationship. I have a
Mm,
lot of like guilt and like bitterness towards him. And I hate my job. I work in a toxic environment. It's not getting any better. And I'm like, sounds like you woke up.
that's
And
exactly it.
because here we are blaming testosterone for anger. And I'm like, what if it's making you more of who you are and like
Yeah.
actually able to like respond to an environment instead of
Yeah.
sitting back here with no energy because you don't
Yeah.
have any hormones.
Yeah, to me, I feel like the experience is like somebody took your glasses off and like cleaned them up a little bit, and then you put them back on. You're like, whoa! And I will tell you that there were two statistics that led me to write this book, because I've been thinking about this for over a decade. And this book wasn't even, I mean, I wrote Fast Like a Girl and Eat Like a Girl, and I was just focused on that. And this book was just brewing in my mind because of these two statistics that are quite well known now. 45 to 65 is the most common decade for a woman to commit suicide.
Mhm.
Okay, so why is that? We need. I'd love to talk through that thought. And then after 40, 70% of divorces are initiated by women.
Yeah.
That is a woman waking up, but the suicide is the one where the woman wakes up and doesn't know what to do. And this is why the work you're doing, books like I'm putting out, like we need to bring this to the surface so women can understand themselves. Because when you've lived in a culture that has taught you are lovable when you are a size 2, and the number on the scale is a certain number, and you're doing everything for everybody else, and one day you don't care what the number on the scale is, and you don't want to work your ass off to be a size 2, and you're tired of doing everything for everybody else, all of a sudden you start to realize that your worth and love came outside of you, and that now you're going to have to learn to love yourself, and you're going to have to learn to find worth within yourself. And that transition's not easy. And that's where I think we really need to bring this conversation forward to the culture.
I think that's absolutely it. And that's like the practice, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
practice of loving yourself. It's a practice, like, there's no there. And I'm insanely curious of how do you get a woman to advocate? How do you get a woman to wake up? I saw a
Mm,
woman in her mid 70s today. She's choosing some hormones. Not everybody's agreeing with her on that, but she
mm-hmm.
has her why. But I see her back and I have to talk her off the ledge of like, this person said this, and this person said this, and this person said this. And I say, what do you
That's it.
want?
That's it. That's
What
it.
do you want? Because
Yeah.
we're spending our entire life checking all the data points.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
And it's like, so that's it. It's like, how do you give people, is it the blue pill or the red pill in the Matrix? I don't remember. How do you red pill the person?
Well, so I think first, just having the awareness that the irritability you're feeling in your life might be a sign that the things in your life aren't a good fit anymore. So we first have
Love
to
that.
go there. Like for me, I would say in the last couple of years, I started to identify anytime I was depressed, it was because I was doing something that I didn't want to do. So when
Yes.
depression would show up, instead of me being like, oh, maybe I need to take an antidepressant, or maybe I would go, what are you doing that you're out of congruency with yourself, Mindy, right now? What is it
Yes.
that you need to do? And, this came from, after Fast Like a Girl came out in the world, and you know what this is like when a book comes out and you're flying places and you're on 1,000 different interviews. And I had hit burnt.
It'll wear you out.
Oh, it'll tear you down.
Personally, it took my muscle away from me. I'm a little upset
Oh
about it.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you can
I'm
grow
like,
that
ooh,
back.
I
It'll
can
come
grow it
back
back
quick. Yeah,
faster this time because I know how to do it. But
that's right.
it's harsh on your physiology.
Yeah. So I had a total burnout moment about a year and a half ago, and my therapist said to me, "Well, Mindy, what do you want? What do you want? How do you want to create your life? Your kids are out of the house. I closed my clinic because I wanted to write books and educate from a different level. So I had plenty of time, money, I had everything I could do to create my
Right.
own life.
And then people are like, why aren't you happy? You should be
Yeah,
happy.
that's right. Well, I wasn't happy because I wasn't creating the life that I wanted. So to answer your question, I think what we have to do is, and what I did is every single day I'd wake up and I would say, okay, I'd look at my calendar and I'd be like, is this what I want to do? And if it wasn't what I wanted to do, I got it off my calendar. You could ask my staff. A couple of times they were like, what? You're canceling that meeting? I'm like, yeah. I started surfing
I'm so
about
glad you're
3 months.
podcasting with me right now. I made the cut.
Exactly. I like you, Kelly. I told you I like eights on the Enneagram. I like women that speak it like you think it. Like, don't hold back.
Let's go there. Do you think your journey was easier? We can decide what easier means because you were an 8. I mean, so 8s, for people who don't know the Enneagram, learn about it. It'll change your life. But 8s tend to have a lot of energy. 8s tend to be kind of visionaries.
Yep.
8 women have it very hard in our society.
Yep.
Because we're too much, we're too loud, we're too oppositional. We're like, let's have a conflict about something. It's energy, it's fun. Let's figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So 8s are, I think, 8 females are challenged in our society that would love us to be 2s, right?
Yes.
And
sorry to the
so to me, like in the 8s are like, we think people should just like stand up and advocate and ask for what they want, but we don't realize not everybody thinks like us.
Yeah.
But yeah, bring in the Enneagram and your Enneagram and how you think that awakening is easier with an 8 or.
Yeah. So the Enneagram's really interesting to get to know yourself. If you haven't studied the Enneagram, I highly recommend people, take a test, understand your number. My parents have been Enneagram teachers since I was in my 20s.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So
That's so cool.
All
you speak an Enneagram?
Oh, yeah.
He's a 7. He's an undeveloped 4.
Oh, yeah. You got it. It's almost like you were sitting at my family
dinner.
Oh, and we love 8s in my family. We're very used to 8s.
Dude,
so
my 2 brothers are an 8. My dad's an 8.
Oh, yeah.
My mom thinks she's an 8. We're not sure.
Wow. Okay.
Lots of 8s. Lots of political argument post-dinner discussions.
Yeah.
Because we get energy and love from discussion, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, not everybody's family does that?
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you guys talked Enneagram.
Yeah, we talked Enneagram, and everybody we would meet, we would, what number do you think they are? And it was always done that way. So I learned a lot about how the thing about the Enneagram that's so cool is that it helps you understand the filter in which people might be presenting information. And with 8s, and this ties into like, how do we get women to stand up for ourselves? They should probably follow more 8s because 8s will tell you the truth. And that's what I love about 8s. You never have to guess where you sit. And a 2 won't do that. A 2 is a helper. And then they become passive aggressive and they get frustrated because that you didn't acknowledge all the help that they were very freely giving you. And so one of the things that we can use as a model for 8s is truth telling and standing up for what you believe in. So this is the first time I saw you, Kelly. I was like, ooh, I like this woman. She's like saying it like it is. And
I think that's where a lot of your success comes from, and my success, especially on social media.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of bullshit. And there's a lot of bullshit, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
And like people really just tell me the facts. Just tell it to me directly. There's a level of success that I think that comes with us being like, that just feels really right to me.
Right. Well, because we're in a moment where in history where the truth needs to come out, and women have been oppressed for so long, and we're scared. To your point about the 70-year-old this morning, I have compassion for women that are like so scared to come out and finally stand up for themselves. And this is what I think we all can bring to the menopause conversation. Everybody's bringing a different slant, but at the core, if you start to look at what everybody's saying, it's the same thing, where this is a pivotal moment. And one of those pivotal moments is you finally get to stand up for yourself. And what I want to say to people who may not be 8s is that once you do that, in the beginning, it's a little terrifying. You can feel a little bit like, oh my God, I let everybody down. And then you get over that. And once you get over that, what happens is you're liberated. You're liberated. I mean, look at this Melanie Sanders who started a Do Not Care Club, and then millions of women followed behind her, and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you all, I don't care either. That is an 8 movement right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Totally.
I think what we fear is actually the thing that will free us. And we've got to step into that and stop fearing disappointing people. And who cares if you're a size 2? And who cares if your hair stands up straight at the top? And who cares? Like, I got curly hair, and like by the end of the day, it's like a bird's nest on my head. And like, who cares anymore? Who should be the most important person in your life as you move through menopause is you and what
100%.
you think. I have some amazing friends, and one of them said something to me about a year and a half ago when I was just in a stuck spot. She said to me, Mindy, you know what's so interesting about you is that I'm watching you and you're so scared of disappointing everybody else, but you have no problem disappointing yourself.
Ooh, good friend.
Good friend. And that
you have to be very safe to say that out loud.
She's a 7 with an 8 wing. And so, but I felt like she lovingly slapped me across the face. Mm-hmm. And I made a decision at that point that depression and anxiety and rage and irritability and insomnia, that all of that showed up when I was out of congruency with myself. When we look at autoimmune problems, when we look at all the conditions that women have, there is this root of out of congruency with your own truth. And that should be opened up and taught at this pivotal moment in history.
I love that 100%. One of my practices, and I want to hear what you did. One of my practices was like, what does Kelly like? Does she like short hair? Does she like long hair? Does she want a hand tattoo? Does she not want a hand tattoo? Does she want lots of different colored reading glasses? Does she not? Does she like lifting? Like, it was literally this binary, like, does she like iced coffee? Does she like hot coffee? Does she like a bunch of different tennis shoes? Does she ever want to wear heels again?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it sounds like a crazy thing to do when you're in your mid-40s, but my God, it's fun. Like, do I like hand tattoos? I don't know. I have to think about that some more. But it's like, who are you? Who is she? What is she like? Like, and I don't know where I learned that. I just started being like, I started loving Kelly.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, Kelly loves podcasting.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like, what does Kelly like? Almost like you're taking care of this like life, which you know
what you're doing is you're taking care of your younger self.
100%. 100%.
Like,
yes.
I called the book Age Like a Girl because Like a Girl is the brand. But the more I've been out talking about it, the more we're having conversations like this. And I'm like, when we age and we go through this menopausal experience, we have an opportunity to go back and look at what we liked as a young child. So I'll give you 2 examples that I'm doing. So when I was I grew up in Malibu. I was blessed to grow up on the beach. And when I was in the 7th grade, one of the dads that our family was really close with said to me, hey, Mindy, you want me to teach you how to surf? And I was like, yeah, I want to know how to surf. I was a super tomboy. And so we go out to surf, and I kid you not, the first person I see is this kid, and I can tell you his name. His name was Chris O'Keefe. And he was this cutie patootie boy that I liked. And he turned to me and he said, Mindy, what are you doing out here? Girls don't surf. Yeah. So this is back in the late 70s, early 80s. And so my brain was like, oh shit, I can't surf. I'm a girl. And so fast forward to 3 months ago, by a series of random events, I moved to Santa Cruz, California, which the culture here is all surfing. And one of my closest friends lives 4 doors down. She's 52 years old and she's a surfer. And she says, do you want to go surf? And I'm like, yeah, actually I do. And so I got back in the water, and it was one of those pivotal moments of taking back something that had been taken away from me because the culture said girls shouldn't do that. And now every day I'm surfing. I even entered a women's surfing contest last week. I'm a total novice. I love it. I suck at it, but it's mine and I'm doing it on my terms. So I think one of the things you can do is you can go back and ask what was taken away from you because you were not supposed to do it. Yeah, I'll tell you my other really fun thing that I did. So I turned 56 about 3 weeks ago, and the house we live in has a really steep driveway. And so I turned to my husband. I'm like, you know what I want to do on my 56th birthday? And he's like, what? I'm like, I'm going to get a big wheel and I'm going to go down our driveway and I want it to spin out in the bottom. Remember how when we were kids, we had big wheels and we went down the driveway and we just spun out? And he started to go into, you might mark the driveway. I don't think big wheels can handle adults. You might want to put a helmet on. And I was like, fuck you. On my 56th birthday, I am ordering a big wheel and I am going down our driveway and I'm spinning out. And I did it and I had so much fun. And I think that's what we're talking about, is that if you actually step in and you start to ask yourself, what did I turn away from? That I really, parts of me that I really, really liked when I was younger, but decided they weren't necessary or they weren't going to be applauded or they were irresponsible as I got older. What aging does for us is it gives us an opportunity to go back and grab those and say, wait a second, like, I do love going into the water every day. I am very playful at heart. I love laughing. As much as I can laugh in a day, then that's a good day. And I feel like I've become the woman that my 8-year-old, my 9-year-old wanted to play with and wanted to save her from responsibility. And to me, that's the beauty of aging.
I love it. I think, and it's that full circle, because people are like, oh, in midlife, you get to this new place. And to people be like, yeah, the new place, which is the circling back to the childhood
That's it.
place.
That's
Right.
it.
And I think so that's, I think, so joyous and so beautiful and so less threatening of like, you're going to go to a new place. You don't know what it is. I'm
That's
like, no,
right.
no, you do. It's called the 6-year-old not giving a fuck. Where's the joy? What's
That's right.
fun? When do you need to nap? Like, what do you want to say? I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yes.
Right. Like
Yes.
when kids are like, I don't like that. And
Right.
it's like you lose that as an adult. And
Yeah.
then you can get it back. Like, what are you doing that you don't like? And to understand, and I think this is where Western medicine is in the dark ages right now of like, it affects your health. It
Yeah.
affects your health to not be in alignment. And I think, God, I just read, what is it? Martha Beck. I just
Oh, I
read
love
Martha
her.
Beck's, the integrity, I think.
Yeah.
Basically, it's about being in alignment. And that's what you're talking about, is like being in alignment with yourself. And we can give you tips and tricks, but like ultimately, the woman needs to figure out how to be in alignment with herself.
Yeah. And I think to what your story was interesting because when I hit a real breaking point, my therapist said to me, what do you want? And I realized for about a month that I could not answer that because you know what? Nobody had asked me that. Nobody. I'm a second child and I was a good steward of doing all the right things and playing by the rules. And nobody said, what do you want? They said, here's what you should do. And so I really started every single day. I would wake up and I would say, what do I want to do? And like 10, 20 times a day, I would go to eat and I would be like, what do I want to eat? I wouldn't say, oh, I wonder what my husband wants to eat. I'm like, no, wait, what do I want to eat? The kids were out of the house and I was like, wait a second. I don't need to eat dinner at 7 and 8 o'clock at night anymore. We're not waiting for soccer practice to be over. Like I actually want to eat at 5 o'clock. And then I started then you start unwinding that. What time do you want to get up? What do you want to? I started looking at like all of my clothes. I'm like, do I actually want to wear these clothes? To your point, I will never put a heel on. I don't, all the heels are gone. I've completely shifted to sneakers. I have about 20 different styles of sneakers. And that is what I'm wearing from this point until I decide to change. And I just unwound every single part from how I look to how I act to all the lifestyle tools, like the gym. I don't like the gym. I don't want to go work out inside. And I was like, why do I have a trainer? And I'm like, every time I go to the gym, I'm just exhausted. I don't want to be under the lights. I want to be outside in nature. So I think if you actually start to ask yourself these questions, the inquiry, the self-inquiry will eventually give you the right answer. And I just want to point out, it took me a month before an answer came. And I really struggled. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to eat at 7:00, but my husband likes eating at 7:00. Okay, well, maybe we eat at separate times. Oh, wait a second. Could we do that? Like, you really have to start unwinding all the different thoughts that the patriarch has infected into you. And that is the beauty of this moment. This is what we're given. I think it's our get out of jail free card. If you actually use that as like, this is my moment to finally do this fucking life that I get to live on my terms. And that is something we should all be excited about.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, like the numbers don't lie. We're at 1 billion postmenopausal women now. We've got 80 million women over the age of 40 in America. Like the wave is happening. I think we're very early. I mean, we're not early. I think we just haven't been paying attention. Like there's books written in 1984 about the health discrepancies in the healthcare system between men and women's bodies. This is old news, right? But I think we're just like, the numbers are finally so big that like we're like, dude, we're gonna do 40 years post menopause now. If we're lucky, let's have that be the goal, right? And it's like, there's so many of us now. This is the beginning of the new world.
Thank you. This is what I've been saying on every podcast. I'm like, we have 1 billion women. What would happen? Think this through. I'm sure you've thought about this. What would happen if 1 billion women spoke up and told their truth? I actually really feel that the misogyny and the desire to go back to suppressing women, all of that would end if every woman, as she went through menopause, decided to finally commit to her own authenticity and to learn how to stand up for herself. We could change the way that the world is thinking right now. We are that powerful, which is why we need to come together and support everybody in finding their unique voice. I tell my following all the time, I don't want you to think like me. I want you to think like you. I want you to find the path that works right for you. This is not when you're 16 and you did what the popular girl did. This is you at 56, 66, where you are being given an opportunity to not sit back and be the quiet one in the corner, but actually to stand up and actually tell the world what you think. And I think we would change. Like, I'm just going to go political because I'm a little irate right now, as every woman in America should be. And if they're not, I'm concerned. But you know, when we looked at the way the political lens went over the last year, I went to so many people, many of them who were in my health world. And I was like, hey, there are a lot of issues here, but the most scary one is what's happening to women's rights. You know, they don't want to let us vote. Well, they're going to take away. We just started being able to write our own checks, which is hysterical. Like in our lifetime that just started happening, and they're going to take that away. And all the people I talked to that were in the opposition of my point of view were like, that would never happen. And here we are. What's the first thing that happened when Trump went into office? That very first week, he shut down Jill Biden's passion and motivation to help us fund women's research. So that went away. You know, the second thing that went away, every single speck of reproductive health was wiped off of the federal websites. In fact, I don't know about you, but I'm like, I hope one of my books get banned. I want to write a book that gets banned. What can I do to upset him that much?
If my book isn't banned, I'm not trying hard enough.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is that there has never been a more important time. And I'm sorry if people are offended by the politics, but we're now at a point where the political situation is a woman's situation, and women are losing power. And if we don't stand up for our power and stand up for our rights and stand up for what we believe in, then we will be going back in time to a place where it'll be near impossible to stand up for ourselves. So that billion women, come on, girls, we got to do it. Like, we got to stand up and finally speak our truth, because otherwise our truth will be taken from us once again.
Yeah, I've been getting feisty on stages now because women are like, "What can we do? What can we do?" And they're like, "Thank you," or they'll say, which is very nice. They'll say, "Thank you so much for advocating. Thank you so much for blah 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 blah."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "You guys, the world's not going to change because I showed up. The world's going to change because we all show. Like, one person can't do this. Don't put this on one person. That's not kind." To sit back and be like, "Thank God Kelly's handling the, all of the things," and it's like, they don't even know that, like, calling the senator makes a difference and writing a letter makes a difference, and like, it makes a difference. I'm here to tell you, like, what I've been able to do. Think of if all of us are able to do it, right? And so I got feisty with them in Chicago because they're like, "What can we do?" And I'm like, "Listen, y'all, Australia, in trying to get testosterone, a female dose testosterone, covered by the government, Australia has 30 million humans, and they had 30,000 signatures on that petition in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
America has a petition out. We've had this petition out for 2 years now to petition the FDA to take the incorrect warning labels off of hormones our body naturally makes, because it does not cause dementia. It does not cause blood clots. 2 years it's been out. We have 20,000 signatures, and we have 10 times the population. And so I got feisty with them. Because I'm like, Americans are sitting on your ass. You're not doing anything. And then you're here like, "What can we do?" I'm like, "Just do something." And I got feisty with them because I'm like, the Australians have 1/10 of our population, and they kicked our ass on advocacy.
So, you bring up such a good point. And let's go back to the question you asked me is, do you think we can change that? And I think when I hear that story, my brain thinks, because we haven't been taught to stand up for ourselves. It's interesting because my mom was, she's still alive, was the typical 50s mom. Like, I used to call her June Cleaver. Like, she would be like, you'd come home and she'd be like, "Hey, how was your day? Let me cook you something." It was so she had a very traditional way about her. But you know what she would always tell me, because it was just my sister and I, she would always say, you're a girl, you're a woman, you have an opinion, you need to speak it. And she would constantly dribble that into my brain. And I think a lot of women didn't get that message. We got the message to stay quiet, don't speak out, or you're going to really upset people. So at the core of what we're talking about here is bravery, is courage to finally speak up. And, at some point, we're going to need to do that before all of our rights are taken away. And there's a billion of us. And from the research I've seen, and from Lisa Mosconi, who has brought forward the brain changes that happen to women through this process, if you dive into it, you will see that your brain's actually built more for leadership. You were meant to move into more a place of leadership. So do it. Either lead yourself, lead your community, go into your church and become a leader. But if we could start to use that as the guiding light for women, you're going through an experience that is a neurochemical shift that is going to help you see parts of you that you have turned away from. And you get to bring those back. And you get to not be scared to stand up for the things you believe in. We need you to speak now. If we could get that message across, we could change what's going on in America right now. I absolutely know it.
I love it. And I think, we now as a society are living to 80, 76 to 82, pick a number, longer than we've ever lived as a large group, right? And it's like, again, the numbers aren't going away, but women for the first time are being like, maybe frailty is not the inevitable demise. Maybe that's an option if I don't do X, Y, and Z. And so the boomers, so it's all these generations, right? So the Gen X is looking at the frail moms and being like, is there another option? And then the millennials are saying, why would we suffer first? The millennials are like, we're paying, I'm like, practicing all these theories on stages with the book tour, but it's like all the millennials are like, damn straight, why would we suffer first? You guys are suffering, we're paying attention, why suffer?
Yeah.
And so there's this wave happening, which is the millennials of like, we're paying attention, why would we suffer first?
Mm-hmm.
And the healthcare system, which is saying, come back when you're sick enough, come back when you're suffering enough. And it's like, there's this certain level of like empowerment that can't happen if you physically don't feel well, right? So it's like, we got to get people in to be taken care of, because when you feel like ass, you can't write the letter and think big and blah, 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 blah. But we've got this big wave of the millennials who are like, we'd like to just stay healthy.
Yeah.
And the healthcare system that says, you're not sick enough yet, we don't need to see you.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. I mean, what do you feel like the healthcare system is shifting at all?
Yeah, because those two waves are happening now, and the millennials are not going to lose.
Yeah, good.
Go
millennials! I've never
like
I never cheered on a millennial so much before. Then this is exciting.
Yeah. The millennials are like, we're not going to lose this. So I think the healthcare system is going to change. That's where we're seeing the longevity medicine, the prevention medicine, the online clinics. If you can't get in this way, go this way to find some healthcare. Because we're like, if your maximum rate of bone loss is in the 2 years before your period ends, which nobody knows when their period's going to end, that's a future date, right? Like, why wait for your bones to get weak before we prevent it? So I think the medicine changes very slowly.
Yeah.
But the millennials are huge. The millennials are paying attention.
Yeah.
And they don't want to suffer. And so I think they're going to help this cause of this awakening and this change and blah, blah. Because right now we've got so many sick middle-aged women. Yeah. Right?
Really true.
And so it's like, what if we can get them through this transition with a buffer and some kindness and some hormones? So we're like, you're not super sick. We got to get you unsick. So now you can change the world. It's like, let's just keep you feisty.
It's you have a really good point there, because I've been really thinking a lot about the 70 and 80-year-olds, and a lot of that came couple of funny thoughts. My sweet mom, who's 86, when I told her about Age Like a Girl and how it was this women's empowerment book, she says to me, "Oh, that might actually be a book I'd read of yours." I was like, okay, again, I think that was a backhanded compliment. It's fun. And then, same thing for me when I get on stages. I love when a 38-year-old comes up to me and says, I can't wait to go through menopause. I'm like, great, let's start to look at it through a different lens. But the interesting part is one of the editors for Age Like a Girl was actually one of the editors for Fast Like a Girl, is in her mid-60s. And she was telling me that she and her friends are very upset because the hormone replacement therapy conversation was not happening for them.
Yeah, the boomers are pissed.
Yeah, the boomers are pissed. It was like, wow, it was interesting just to see that each generation is having its own experience around this one topic called menopause, and to understand that what's coming is going to end up changing. Like you said, the millennials is going to change the trajectory of how we look at this moment. But when we look behind and see who came before us, I have a lot more compassion for the 60, 70, and 80-year-olds than I ever did, because they suffered in silence. And they were gaslit in their doctor's office. And I think that one of the things that I love in the research that I did for Age Like a Girl is that we have a really cool moment to be able to cross generations. Like the 60, 70, 80-year-olds, have we leaned into their wisdom? Have we asked them what it was like to go through this experience without any tools, without any conversation? Like, that would be compassion for sure. And then at the same time, we need to turn around and look at the generations below us and redefine, which I think we're doing, but really redefine what it means to be a woman, and really show them that being a woman is powerful. It's not a curse. It is a blessing when you understand this process, this massive hormonal shift. When you understand it, then you can move through it in your authenticity and your power. And to your point, that we've got the poor Gen Xers that are like, coming like the big wheel, like coming sliding in to menopause, and they're like banged up and exhausted, and they're struggling. And
Yeah.
so it's really interesting to me that it's our generation that's changing this, but it's also our generation that potentially was hurt the most by this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. It is so beautiful. We're like, you know, respect to the boomers,
Mm-hmm.
gratitude to the Gen X. Like Gen X has moved perimenopause and menopause forward more fast than I've ever seen, right? Like
Yep.
the last 4 years, oh my God, it's been a couple of decades, and like how much progress we've made in that. It's
Yep.
been phenomenal. And the millennials, God bless them. They're like, because we all thought they were like, I wrote my first book, I put a menopause chapter in it, and I almost didn't want to put it in there because I didn't
Oh
want them
yeah.
to not read it. Right. And
Yep.
now they're like, when does this happen? What's the first sign of perimenopause? We're paying attention. Like they are showing up in a way that I don't think any of the older generations thought they were going to.
Yeah.
Right. We're like, oh, they don't want to pay attention to this. Like we didn't want to pay attention to it. And they're like, you guys are suffering. We're going to not
Yeah.
suffer.
We don't
We're going
want
to
to
know.
be you. Really what they're
We don't
saying
want
is
to be you.
you're us. We don't want to be you.
Yeah, totally. But before we wrap it up, let's talk about the men. So I know you
Mm,
write in your book, how do we bring them along? There's not to oversimplify it, but there's several groups. Like there's the group that's like, I want to help. I don't know how to help. Let me
mhm,
help. I can't experience this, but I understand that if my testicles went missing, that would be dramatic. So thanks for the analogy.
mm,
Right. And then there's the other group that's like, stop talking about yourself. Why do you think you're so special? And uh, this is a belief. I don't really believe like it's Santa Claus. Like midlife hormone changes are Santa Claus. This is not a belief system. This is
right.
basic physiology,
Yep.
right? But a lot of like blowing off the women, like, don't you know that hot flashes are mind over matter? Like a lot of
Ugh.
dismissal from a group that you know what, your testicles, and that's what I say, if a man lives long enough, the testicles do decline, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Do
just
they
live
drop
long enough.
off? do
Right.
they have to,
Well,
do they
it
drop
would be, I
off?
mean, they're on the outside. They can actually see them getting smaller.
Wow.
Right. So they do have a more physical reality to it. I'm like, one of the biggest problems is we can't see the ovaries getting smaller, but they
Yep.
are.
Yep.
You know, how many women say I got an ultrasound when I was 68 and they can't find my ovaries? It's like, because your ovaries are teeny. You just didn't see them getting small.
Yeah.
But so how do we bring in the men? What's the advice when people are partnered with men, bosses who are men? What's your takeaway for all hands on deck?
Yeah, first, I just want to point out there's a lot of really good men out there, and they are wanting to support women, and especially the women they love through this. One of the most common things that I get when I speak live is women come up to me and they're like, how do I help my husband understand this? So what I did in Age Like a Girl is I actually wrote an appendix to men. So it's actually written to men. And my feeling is that my hope is that a woman will take the book and give it to their husband or their brother or their son and show like, this is what I'm going through. So that was the attempt there. Now, I want to tell you that what I did with my man, because he has been incredible in this journey. And we had to change the way that we talk to each other. As I went through menopause and my preferences changed, I literally went to him and said, I'm changing. I'm changing. Like, I know I didn't care about that before, but I care about it now. And at first, that was a little difficult. My daughter went off to college first, and then I was left home with my son and my husband. And this was deep into my menopause years in my late 40s. And I just kept saying to them, hey, I can't do it this way anymore. I need to do it. Like a great thing is the kitchen. My son is a chef, and he loves to just cook amazing dinners that he serves at 10 o'clock at night. And then the kitchen is a mess. And then I wake up the next morning to the messy kitchen. And so I literally sat him down and I was like, look, I love you, but there's so much chaos going on in my brain that when I wake up in the morning and I wake up to a dirty kitchen, it just is like putting gasoline on a fire that is already there. So I need, out of love for me, I need you to clean this up so I wake up to a clean kitchen. So having new discussions like that, I think if you're with men that care, they're going to understand. And if we can start to talk, like, I know I'm changing. I know I did this before and I don't want to do this anymore. It's not personal. I'm just doing it different now. Then that's a better discussion than lashing out and saying, you're not hearing me, getting mad because getting more irritable at them.
They're not mind readers.
They're not mind readers. You need to invite them into your process. And that is what honestly has saved my marriage. We have a discussion that we say now where we're in marriage 3.0. And so I always say in marriage 3.0, I don't do that anymore. I do it this way. And so together we have created something new for not just the marriage, but we have allowed the new version of me to come into the marriage in a really positive way. So what do we do about the men? We don't shame them. We don't yell at them. We invite them into the process in a loving way, and the right men will join us.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I always think if you look at the old data, I mean, first of all, we only lived to 47. Like the healthiest land owning men lived to 47. They didn't even die in childbirth, right? So,
Yep.
like, if you look at the way it used to be, we didn't have 80 years as a society. We didn't have marriages that lasted 40, 50 years. The average marriage back in, this was Europe, right? Average marriage was 7 years before somebody died.
Oh my God. The other thing is, can we go back to what marriage was created for? It was
Right.
because a woman wasn't working.
Land.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
like a transaction.
Totally. So for people to be like, well, I don't want to change, like,
Yeah.
it's like change is inevitable,
Yeah.
by the way. And like redefining, like, what's this relationship? Why do we want to be here? How can we like why wouldn't we need to have that conversation when we're operating on a marriage scale
Yeah.
that is blowing 7 years out of the water?
Yeah. You know, Esther Perel has a really good statement that we've used as a guiding light. And that's that in our adult years, we will fall in love with 2 to 3 people. And for some of us, that will be with different people. And for others of us, it'll be with the same person. And we use that all the time in our marriage. Remember, I'm a new person. In fact, in the book, I talk a lot about butterflying yourself. The butterfly has become my new statement that I am changed. I've gone into the chrysalis. I dissolved what didn't work for me and I came out a new person. And so the other day, my husband and I were getting plants at the nursery and there was this butterfly cap. It had just a little butterfly on the baseball cap. And I put it on and I said, I know it's really confusing, all the changes I've been making. So here's what I'm going to do. Every time I put the butterfly hat on, just know you're talking to the newest version of me. And so we just got laughing about that. But it really, it's literally like being playful in the change, not shameful or blamey. It's like, yes, I'm supposed to change now. I'm in my 50s. I've played by the societal rules. I don't want to play by the societal rules. My husband and I met when we were 21. I'm not that 21-year-old.
Yeah.
And so being able to have healthy discussions about that, I think will invite more men in. And I'm a feminist to the core, but one of the problems about the feminist movement is that back in the day, it had a lot of anger and it had a lot of blame. And this is a different version of feminism. This is women standing in their truth and then turning around to their men in their life and inviting them into their own metamorphosis. And I think if we do that, we'll save marriages, we'll save lives, and you're going to see more men wanting to come in and cheer us on through this.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I think, to circle back to the start of this podcast is like you becoming the most you that you can be, like the youest you that you can ever view, is like there is something so attractive to that and magnetic to that of like embracing the you-ness and kind of this like I want you to be here also, right?
Yeah.
Like me changing doesn't mean I don't want you here.
Yeah.
But there's something so, for lack of a better word, sexy about you being the youest you and people being like, yeah, game on. Like this is
Yeah.
fun. Good energy.
I was just thinking, because I know you talk about sex a lot on your podcast. I was thinking to myself, yeah, I mean, you'll dress up to have some fantasy sexual life. Why don't you just change who you are? And then you don't need, if you're one of those, if that's the way you slant when you have sex, and then you don't need to dress up. Your husband's having sex with a new person, and your husband doesn't need to go have an affair, and you don't need to go have an affair because you're a new person.
I think this, I mean, to bring in sex at the end because it's fun, but like in sex, often in a heterosexual relationship, we're like, what do you want, woman?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? Well, now that's a very hard question to answer when you've been having sex for somebody else your whole life, or sex according to Hollywood, or sex according to sex ed. Like women don't know what they want, but it's not just sex, right? Like if you don't know what you want, what hair do you want? What type of workouts do you like? It's like going back to the beginning of this conversation of like figuring out what you want. Sex is part of that.
Yeah.
And a lot of women don't know what they want because they've never been asked that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So, I always say like you becoming the best version of you as a sexual human being trickles out into everything else because you have to figure out what you want.
Yeah. That reminds me of, surely you saw the movie, it's either Hello or Goodbye, Leo Grand. Have you seen that movie?
So good.
I mean, that typifies what women go through, and just how we become so masterful at self-sacrifice. Yeah. And I think it's the bedroom and the sexual appetite of women and the way women show up in the bedroom is just a small little sliver of her whole life. Like so many women don't say what they want. And that's also, they don't say what they want in other parts of their relationship. And one of my favorite quotes from Julie Gottman is that resentment in a marriage builds when you say yes, when you really wanted to say no. And that's another thing that I've used with my husband is over and over again. I will say, I know I used to do that. And you know what happened is I would say yes to you and then I would resent you. And so now I'm just going to say no so that I stick with my truth. But you know what the benefit is for you? I won't resent you.
Yeah. And when it's a yes, it's a hell yes.
Yes. That's right.
Right? Because those yeses are authentic yeses now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I said it to my kids. Just the other day, my daughter called. She lives in Idaho. She's getting married, buying a house. She's an adult. And she got sick. And so she called me wanting my advice, which all of a sudden became me going to the UPS store to send her a bunch of things that will make her feel better. And I was laughing to myself. I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't want to spend my whole day doing this for her anymore. She's 25 years old. Her fiance's at home. He can go get this stuff for her. So I literally called her back and I said, you know what, babe? It turns out I don't have enough time to get to the UPS store. I'm sure Dean can go get that stuff for you. And it was like, I did that. And I walked away and I was like, look at me. Yay. Empowering.
Yes, because when you do it in the future, or whatever it is, it's because you really, really want to.
That's right. That's right.
So, resentment's horrific for libido. Like public service announcement for anybody who wants to hear that. Like resentment's awful for libido. And I think, going back to like when you saying, depression, anxiety, not sleeping, there's something that you're not in integrity with yourself. I think that's part, I don't think that's all of low libido, but I think that's part of women with low libido. What's going on in your life that's out of integrity with you thriving and seeking out and having pleasure and like all of that. So sometimes I'm like, low libido use it as a tool, right? In the same way that you use feeling blah, not like what, if I was more in alignment, if I knew more what brought me pleasure and was prioritizing that in my life, would this be different?
Yeah. And that you hit the nail on the head with all the symptoms is we can look at the physiological piece. Like I was thinking about low libido. You and I talked about this on my podcast, like rubbing more testosterone cream on you when you're resentful at your partner isn't necessarily going to it's not going to increase. Just like if your diet's horrible and you're totally stressed out and you're miserable in your life, putting an estrogen patch on isn't going to be the end all be all. And so
100%.
there needs to be like a complex opening to this conversation that these symptoms aren't just loss of hormones. And thank God we're opening up the HRT discussion. But now your job, what you get to do is see why the rage and the resentment and the depression and the anxiety and the loss of libido, like what's at the root of that. I think that will hopefully be the next wave of menopausal conversation that women start
Yes.
to step into.
I think so. I mean, I think hormones have been suppressed or held back from women for so long that we've got to
Mm-hmm.
catch up with that access. But we all like, we're Americans. We like quick fixes. What if you just up my dose? And you're like, no, you got to do the effing work. You got to
Yep.
clean up the diet, prioritize the sleep, get some fresh air, right? Like it's not this like quick fix that a lot of people want to make it.
Yeah.
Of like,
It's well
yes, it does
said.
quick fix some things, but it doesn't quick fix you out of integrity with your life and realizing like, whose life have you been living? And do
Yeah.
you want to do something about that?
I got chills on that one. And I think that's at the root of why I suffered through writing another book. Because because let me tell
It's
you,
awful, people. For people who haven't written books, it's
oh,
awful.
it's horrible. And then you got to go out and
It's
like
the
market
worst.
the book. I always
Yep.
say it's like taking your soul and like opening it up and like allowing the world to critique it.
Oh yeah, like, do you like my baby? Is my baby cute?
Yes.
World, person in Ohio on YouTube, is this okay for you?
That's it exactly.
But it helps people. Like books help people
right. And
profoundly.
and I'm always happy once people, finds me in public and recognizes me and is like, "You changed my life." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
good," because when I wrote
Yeah.
that book,
Thank God.
thank God something good came from it. But yeah, I mean,
Totally.
it's the most arduous process that I've ever been through, and I keep writing them. I'm not sure
Yeah.
why, but I think it's because here's what I've finally come to on books, and especially in this whole menopause area, is that we should look at them as openings to a conversation that we all get to now step into and decide what's right for us. And what I see happening in the zeitgeist right now is so many women that are like, wait a second. Like, it's almost like, is it safe to come out now? Can I come out now? Can I really speak what I want to say? And I think I hope from this conversation that women are hearing, yeah, like Kelly and I are like, yes, please, like speak
Where
your word.
dates will lead. Well, I think our society has given such a narrow window of what being a woman is that if
Mm,
you and we make a lot of money on you
mm.
trying to fit in this narrow
Oh,
window of what
yeah.
a woman is, like, and I truly think we are blowing that open to be like, and a woman can be 80 and a woman can be 20 and a woman can be 50 and she can be a mom and she can have a job and she can like to play the violin and she can like to not wear high heels. Like, we're blowing open the definition and saying we want everybody on board
Yeah. Agreed.
because we were realizing, and that's the awakening, we were realizing this is a really narrow sidewalk we've all been
Yeah.
put on,
Yeah.
and we're not in integrity with it. But
Yeah.
if you say the definition of a woman is all these things, there's room for everybody.
Yeah. Oh my God. That is so well said. When I tell a little bit of this in the book, but when I was a kid, I was a total tomboy. I was just really good at every sport I did. And I'm, as a 56-year-old, I'm really appreciative of this. I always say I was born in my body. Like I wasn't on the outside. And yet my 50s mom was like, okay, when you're ready to stop wearing the OP shorts. Do you remember OP shorts?
Yeah.
And you want to put on the chemin de fers. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to show you how to be feminine.
Mhm.
And I love what you just said is that now fast forward to where we are and feminine has really taken on a whole new definition. And in my definition, I feel like feminine is power. It is rooted. It is standing up for yourself. That is the new version of a female. And it can be
Mhm.
all the things you just said.
Mhm. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I hope this is an invitation for people who are listening to be like, you being the youest you is the best thing for this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like trust that. And
Yeah.
like listen to the women who've gone through it, right? And like
Yes.
and for the women who've gone through it, encouraging them to continue to share your stories, because women need to hear other women's stories, because then it becomes possible. And it's a beautiful
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly. I'm sure you've heard the quote, don't ask what the world needs, ask what lights you up. Because what the world needs is more people who are lit up.
I love that. I
And
love that.
the world doesn't need women who are going invisible and staying quiet as they age. The world right now needs women to stand in their rooted power and speak their truth. That is what we
Yes,
need.
totally. And by God, advocate more than the Australians. They're kicking our butt, you guys. They're doing a very good job. We can take a playbook page from them. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you, Kelly, for having me. I love
Oh,
chatting with you again.
I know, it's so fun.
It's just
I'll come to California again. It'll be good.
yeah,
Can people find your book tour on your website? Where would you like them to go to see where you're all going to be?
Well, so here it's funny. You can go to agelikeagirlbook.com. There's all kinds of bonuses there and fun things. I'm kind of everywhere. I always tell people YouTube is my passion project. And I'm going to say this because I've aged like a girl. We'll see if I do a book tour. I may or may not do a book tour because that might not be in my own personal best interest. So stay tuned.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.